With the unprecedented situation we're all living through, the NBA is looking to make quite a few changes to the league. With Spalding being the NBA's game ball provider since as early as 1983, it looks as if the league is taking a new path and going with Wilson. Believe it or not, Wilson was actually the provider for 37 years before the NBA made the swap to Spalding in 1983. The switch will take place beginning with the 2021-22 season, which marks the league's 75th anniversary and will also be effective for G League and WNBA. A Yahoo reporter even said the same leather and product specifications will be used to produce the new ball, with the assistance from the NBA and NBPA, which will create a player advisory board to offer suggestions. Wilson basketball engineers, product designers, and player insight specialists will work with the NBPA advisory board to create the new game balls. Now, something that's long been debated and recently considered is adding a brand new dimension to NBA courts, a brand new 4-point line. Believe it or not, many teams, including the Hawks and 76ers, have already implemented a 4-point line in their team's facilities, hoping they can get guys ready for when the NBA makes the decision to make a 4-point line that they've been talking about for years. Even in December of 2018, in a game between the Hawks and the Lakers, Trae Young hit a super deep three, and instead of following through with a shot, he instead made sure Lonzo and the Lakers bench knew where he shot from, pointing right at the purple L on the court, which was more than 30 feet from the hoop. Trae Young was also hinting at a 4-point line by telling them that if they had one, he'd be a threat from deep. After being asked about his deep three against the Lakers, as well as his thoughts on a 4-point line, Trae Young said, "I would always try to extend my range farther and farther because I wasn't getting much taller. The farther I shoot, people weren't expecting that." The NBA has discussed the idea over recent years mainly because of players like Steph Curry shooting ridiculously deep threes that honestly kind of changed the way the game is played, but with more teams than ever relying so heavily on three-point shooting like the Houston Rockets. But players like Trae Young, Dame Lillard, and more have not shied away whatsoever from shooting so far back because they're confident in still shooting a high percentage further back than the three-point line. It makes complete sense, sort of. 4-point lines should be put in as players already shoot from that deep anyway, and it would also affect the players who don't shoot that far from the basketball if there's players alongside them that could. For example, if Giannis Antetokounmpo, one of the best finishers and dunkers in the game, had a 4-point specialist alongside him, it opens the floor for him to finish at the hoop that much easier if a player is a threat from deep. Many players and legends have already weighed in on this topic of conversation, with the legendary and Warriors head coach saying, "Please no, that sounds insane." Reggie Miller, a prolific long-range shooter during his playing days, said in an interview that the 4-point shot would make the game a laughingstock. But Portland's own Damian Lillard defended the scenario. He told Dan Patrick he would absolutely favor a 4-point line because the current three-pointer isn't enough of a challenge for this new generation of players. And he said, "You got so many guys making it so easy." The legendary Larry Bird was also in favor of the idea, seeing as he likes the way the three has opened up the game and given more chances to smaller players who'd be helpless down low. But he talked about this and he said, maybe 5 or 10 years down the road, 4s are what everybody will be shooting. The game evolves. The latest news about the NBA and its return to playing games came down from Adrian Wojnarowski, who was talking about the pros and cons to starting the league back up sooner than later. Woj talked to an NBA executive who said a lot of players are on different landscapes right now. It's a very different scenario for each team and each market. Keep in mind, Mike D'Antoni, Greg Popovich, and Alvin Gentry are all north of 65 years old, so they're not allowed to be in the practice facilities. But when are they going to be allowed to coach their team? That's a very big question on the minds of a lot of people. I think they're going to drag this out until the last second because I think they need to gather information, and that is at a premium right now. Why do certain people have a severe reaction to COVID-19? Who will be in the bubble scenario? The proposed bubble scenario in either Las Vegas, Atlantic City, Orlando, or perhaps all three. Who would be allowed? Would it be your parents? Would it be your family? And what kind of financial ramifications are in play there? So a lot of difficult questions are going to be asked in the next couple of weeks, and I think Adam Silver has been consistent this entire time. They're going to take their time to figure this out. And what I'm hearing is in mid-June, they're going to have to come to a decision on whether to give the green light or not to the rest of the season. With nobody ever expecting something like this to happen and put the entire world at risk of health problems, there are many things that shutting the league down does that nobody thinks about. The NBA has crowned the champion in each of its 73 previous seasons and wants to avoid that sort of unappealing, unresolved conclusion to a season. League officials want this even if it means returning from a first-of-its-kind extended delay and serving up the type of raggedy product that could well result from a lengthy hiatus. It had already been a brutal season for the league financially before the coronavirus outbreak, stretching back to the China controversy in the preseason, started by a tweet from Houston Rockets general manager Daryl Morey in support of pro-democracy protesters in Hong Kong. During All-Star Weekend in Chicago, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver estimated the substantial financial hit from Morey's tweet would be in the hundreds of millions of dollars. The loss of money for having the NBA shut down for months is going to be out of this world, and it goes so much deeper than money that they would make from TV. Jersey sales are affected, tickets to games aren't being sold, pro shops and arenas aren't open for business, and none of the small businesses inside arenas are making any money either. With all of this nonsense making the NBA push their season back months, scheduling has been a difficult topic to work around. Some issues such as having the NBA Finals in August, pushing free agency into September, and starting the 2021 season on Christmas Day. Many are saying that maybe even this schedule won't work, including Dr. Anthony Fauci, who said, "For a while, life is not going to be the way it used to be in the United States. We just have to accept that if we want to do what's best for the American public." Reporter Mark Stein also talked about the draft and how it would affect when that took place, saying, "The ever-growing status of the NBA free agency as a huge July hit has inevitably led some teams to wonder how popular the biggest playoff games could be if staged later in the summer rather than in June, thus pushing the draft free agency summer league trifecta all the way into September. Rest assured, there will be a measure of resistance to such broad changes, which would ultimately have to be collectively bargained with the players. Some teams are skeptical, and even in the short term, bound to question the wisdom of a major shift in policy, with little advanced planning or a better feel for unintended consequences." Reporter Sham Charania spoke about the potential playoff proposal when he tweeted saying, "NBA in-season tournament format proposal. All 30 teams involved from late November to mid-December. Divisional games, 4 home, 4 away for group stage. 6 divisional stage winners, plus 2 wild cards for knockout. Quarterfinals at home market. Semifinals, finals at neutral site. The play-in tournament would involve 7th through 10th seeds. Number 7 would play 8 for the 7th seed, and the loser of that game would face the winner of the 9 versus 10 matchup for the 8th seed. If the season ended today and this proposal had been implemented, the Nets, Hornets, Magic, and Pistons would be the play-in tournament teams in the East, while the Thunder, Blazers, Kings, and Spurs would be the teams from the West. In theory, the existence of that tournament would further extend the playoff bubble, as well as encourage mediocre teams to push for a spot instead of tank." Shortly after the world started to hear about the national pandemic named COVID-19, not only did sports get put on hold, but so did the entire world. As soon as the NBA made it official, they were no longer having any NBA-related activities until further notice, asking the public a big question. Mark said, "Can the league really restart in June if players keep testing positive for the coronavirus? Would teams play a few regular season games if we somehow get to that point, or just jump right back into the playoffs? Are arenas destined to be closed off to fans when the league does come back? How realistic is it for the season to carry into August or even September? What impact would all that have on the 2021 season?" Now, all of these questions are fair, but one that everyone wanted to know about is rest and how the players will be affected when the time does come to play again. For teams like the Bucks and Lakers, for example, who were leading their divisions and looking to make a clear run at the title, now have to overcome months full of rest and rust. The Lakers might be affected by this off time the most for many reasons. First things first, they are competing in a very competitive West Division, with teams who are just a few games out of higher seeds and are looking to give it their all and make the playoffs. Another main reason the Lakers are affected is because this year tragedy struck, and Lakers legend Kobe Bryant was killed in a freak helicopter accident. Although the Lakers players don't talk about it much, there is an added level of pressure for them to succeed and all around make a great story for Kobe, which optimistically means winning the title. Last but certainly not least is the Lakers' drive to win a ring so that Anthony Davis makes the decision to return due to him being a free agent at the year's end. With Anthony Davis averaging 26 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 assists per game, which are all career highs, the Lakers need him more than they may think, considering they missed the playoffs just a year ago.
Hey, yo, dog, I need you to do me a big favor. Hey, click on this video on the screen, bro. This video on the screen is probably the most fire video of all time. If I'm just being honest, it's probably one of the greatest pieces of video content ever created in the entire universe, world, or stratosphere. And you need to click on it, okay?